Warts Show, written by William B., illustrated by Kate Hindley. This is Albert, and this is Albert's pet monster, Sidney. Albert thinks Sidney is the best pet monster in the world, and today, Albert is going to prove it. Albert is entering Sidney in
the best pet monster in the world competition, live on TV. There are 5 runs in the best pet monster in the world competition, and the pet monster who received the most points overall wins. Round 1. Here he is, warts. The judges clamber all over the monsters with their measuring devices, and the monsters puff themselves up to show off their big, colorful, hairy warts. Goodness, the size, the hairs, the judges. One faints, and another breaks out in a rash.
Sidney has done his best, but Sidney, who has a bath every other day with lots of soap and bubbles, hasn't got any warts, just a few freckles. Goodness, the embarrassment, thinks Albert. Still, it's only round 1. And who wants a big hairy warty pet monster anyway?
Round 2. Highest hover. Everybody has moved outside to see how high the monster can hover. The judges use hot air balloons and very long tape measures to measure the monster's hovering height. Goodness, the height, the wind, the judges. One faints and another floats away in her untethered balloon.
Sidney has done his best, but Sidney is scared of heights, so Sidney hovers very near the ground. So near the ground, in fact, that his feet are still touching it. Goodness, the embarrassment, thinks Albert. Still, it's only round 2, and who wants a pet monster hovering around all day, bumping into things anyway?
Round 3. Moss parasites. Some of the pet monsters have so many parasites that the judges have had to ask the parasites to get off their monsters and line up to be counted. Goodness! The numbers, the variety, the judges. One faints and another starts scratching frantically.
Sidney has done his best, but Sidney only has 2 parasites, Stan and Ollie. And since Stan and Ollie are just staying for a few days, they are really tourists rather than parasites. Goodness, the embarrassment, thinks Albert. Still, it's only round 3, and who wants a pet monster with hundreds of parasites hanging around, causing all sort of mischief anyway?
Round 4. Smelliest fart. The monsters position themselves, and on the count of 3, they all fart. Goodness, the smell, the noise, the judges. One faints and another runs off, holding his nose.
Sidney has done his best, but a diet of frosted cookies and cupcakes means barely a whiff, and a sugary whiff at that. Goodness, the embarrassment, thinks Albert. Still, it's only round 4, and who wants a big smelly pet monster anyway?
It's the final round. Round 5. Hottest breath. There is chaos on stage. The monster taking great big gulps of air and breathe out great big hellos of fire. One of the TV cameras catches fire, and so do the curtains. Goodness, the heat, the smoke, the judges. One faint, and another runs away, holding her hot bottom.
Sidney has done his best, but he has only been able to warm up a party sausage that Albert has put on a little fork. Goodness, the embarrassment, thinks Albert forlornly. Still, who wants their bottom set on fire anyway? After all the day's excitement, at last, it's time for the prize giving. Albert and Sidney wait in eager anticipation as the dignitaries hand out the trophies. But as trophy after trophy is presented to the other pet monsters, it becomes apparent to Albert and Sidney that they are not among the winners. Goodness, the embarrassment. But wait!
Sidney, Albert.
Albert and Sidney's names are being called out. Are they winners after all?
A new record. The lowest score in 100 years. Freckles instead of warts. 0 for hovering. 2 comical tourists instead of parasites. Pathetic sugary farts. And a lukewarm party sausage. Worst in show.
Worse in show? Goodness, the embarrassment. Still, thinks Albert, who wants a big hairy, high-flying, parasite-infested, smelly, flammable pet monster anyway? Especially when you can have a big, cuddly, lovable best friend who smells great. The end.